So hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 78 of our F1 Manager Save. Now if you didn't watch the last episode or last week's episode, go back and watch them too. It were two street circuits, it was Monaco and then Azerbaijan, and spoiler alert, we won both of them, or should I say Lando Norris won both of them. Brilliant outing from Lando over the last two weekends. Mick Schumacher a little bit disappointing once again, finishing up in P9, didn't execute the strategy possibly as well as Lando did. But now we are moving into Canada, and Canada, this presents a very different challenge from the street circuits. 70 laps round here. Last year, Pierre Gasly won it with Aston Martin, so we won it last year. Can we do it this time? I'm pretty sure we can. Expected strategy is a one-stop once again from medium or softs onto hard, so we'll have a look at that and see how that plays out. But to bring you up to date on a few things, we have got a new rear wing for this Grand Prix, so if we just show you this on the rear wings, that's been installed, so that's getting us an upgrade, certainly in the top speed and acceleration department and a few of the cornerings as well. So the rear wing paying dividends there. And bring you up to date on the standings. Constructors wise, we are only 4 points behind Red Bull, but we need Mick Schumacher to start scoring a few more points. That's what's letting us down in the constructors. In the drivers, however, it is a very different story. Lando Norris is now 40 points clear in front of Charles Leclerc, and then Max Verstappen is in third as well. So the two Red Bull drivers fighting it out. Charles Leclerc, the lead Red Bull driver at this moment in time. Behind the scenes as well in the facilities, we've just been refurbishing a few things, especially in the operations side of things. Hospitality, weather, memorabilia and tour centre, all being refurbished at this moment in time. This is going to be our last season, so we want to win both titles. I'm going to get through to qualifying at the Canadian Grand Prix, so we'll see you in qualifying.
We return to our highly anticipated race weekend, just in time for the start of qualifying. There's very little time to relax because each and every driver will need to bring their A game to the track for qualifying. They'll need to push themselves to the limit if they're to be challenging for a strong grid position. You simply never know what you'll see come qualifying. Let the competition commence.
Absolute shocking qualifying from Mick Schumacher. Mick Schumacher is knocked out in Q1. There was comments about Mick Schumacher possibly should be losing his seat. That may just have confirmed it. Mick Schumacher not impressed with that at all. Lando Norris didn't go out for a second run, but that is ridiculously bad. 0.4 of a second, but shocking from Mick Schumacher. On to Q2. And so qualifying is over. Charles Leclerc takes pole position. Kevin Magnussen in P2 in the Audi. Kevin Magnussen is outperforming that Audi ridiculously well. Pierre Gasly on P3, and Lando Norris could only manage P4. He didn't have the best final lap, and unfortunately we couldn't bring it to you, but Lando Norris down in P4 and he's got two McLarens behind him. We've got some decisions to make on strategy, and there's a lot of rain coming for Sunday. Let's have a look at the strategies. Right then guys, so strategy, let's have a little look at it. So rain is predicted around lap 19, lap 20. So it makes sense to start on the soft compound of tyres. Both our drivers will be starting on that, then possibly going on to the intermediates before probably finishing up on the soft compound tyre at the end. We should get around, 20 laps out of that soft compound tyre. So I think towards the end, that's the tyre that we will be going on to. Mick Schumacher is taking a full set of new car components. So he's going to be probably starting from the back of the grid. There's no point. We may as well take the engine now while we're at the back. We're not going to lose much. So that's it. 4th and probably 20th for the Canadian Grand Prix. It's going to be action-packed. Rain always brings that. Looking forward to this one. 5 red lights coming right up.
This is it. We're moments away now at the Canadian Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
And away we go, and straight away we can see this is Kevin Magnussen, Leclerc and Gasly are all on the medium compound of tyre. So very, very interesting to start with. Mick Schumacher dead last, as you can see, as we would expect. But Lando Norris, we've underfueled him a little bit as well. He should be absolutely rapid on this first few laps. I'm hoping Lando can make a few overtakes and get to the front. And Mick Schumacher likewise, he's got to clear these cars as quick as he possibly can. There's not been too much movement off the line. Mick Schumacher at the very, very back, looking at the right of the Williams of Yuki Tsunoda. Diving left and right, trying to get an opening, but as we lead away on lap 1, it is Charles Leclerc managing to keep Then comes Kevin Magnussen in the Audi. He's got to be a driver that we're considering at this moment in time. Lando Norris looks like he's having a look at the Aston Martin. Can't quite get it done there. What we are going to do is just put him onto overtake here. He's on the soft compounder tyre. He's on less of fuel. Let's have a look to see if he can get a move done. We've got a yellow in sector 3. We've got a crash on circuit and we've got a safety car. Straight away, Lando Norris warming the tyres up. And it looks like it's a crash at the back. Latifi looks like a man who was being involved. Let's have a little look what's happening here then. Safety car is out. Crash involving multiple cars.
Now,
let's get the replay of this on lap 1. It's Latifi. We can see Schumacher in the background. Latifi in the Maserati has clipping the Nissan, and then that's smashed into the Lotus Renault. Was that, I believe, of Guan Yu Zhou. So Maloney and Zhou out from no fault of their own. Good chance for us to conserve tyres a little bit and harvest on the ERS as well. But safety car on lap 2 of the Canadian Grand Prix. Here we go then, back to green flag running, and we are going to ride on board once again with Lando Norris as we come on to lap 4. Safety car was only out for a couple of laps. Still movement to be had for Lando Norris here. Can he overtake a couple of these cars? I'm a bit, I don't know about you guys at home. Please comment down and see what is your opinion on Kevin Magnussen this season. He's been absolutely blistering in the Audi. And to be fair, he's outperforming that Audi massively if we're going to gauge it in terms of Alexander Albon. But then again, you would suggest that Lando Norris is if we're gauging it with Mick Schumacher. But I've got a funny feeling that might be the other way around, and Mick Schumacher is massively underperforming. So your top 10 as it stands as we've restarted after the safety car, it's Leclerc from Magnussen, Gasly, Norris in P4, Perez and Ricciardo, 2 McLarens in P5 and 6, Esteban Ocon is in P7, Sainz in P8, Albon P9, George Russell in the DHL Mercedes in P10. Meanwhile, Mick Schumacher is having a look at this Williams of Yuki Tsunoda, but just can't quite seem to get him at this moment in time. Let's just ride on board with him here. We'll give him the overtake button. Let's see what Mick Schumacher can do here and see if he can overtake in this Williams of Yuki Tsunoda. He's using the ERS, and still, even though he's on the softer compounder tyre, doesn't seem to be making an impression on that Williams of Yuki Tsunoda. Lap 5, Leclerc leads. And on lap 5, Mick Schumacher made his first overtake of the afternoon, overtaking Yuki Tsunoda in the Williams, and now he's got another Williams and a Nissan to overtake as well. Mick Schumacher up to P16. Lap 7, he joined his bike. Lando Norris overtaking Pierre Gasly. Lovely work there into the right-hander. Got the move done beautifully. He's now on the back of Charles Leclerc. Kevin Magnussen in the Audi is currently leading this race. We reckon if we can get a good run here, then we could possibly break away from these guys. That's the plan at this moment in time. And Lando Norris, with that DRS and using the ERS at this moment in time, will he be able to get a run on the Red Bull of Charles Leclerc? It doesn't look like it at this moment in time. Leclerc goes to the inside, Magnussen covers it off. Leclerc not managing to make the move there, but Lando Norris, will he pull to one side or the other? It's very, very interesting as we go into turn 1. Let's go for the TV highlights. And Leclerc can't quite make that move at this moment in time. We're on that soft compounder tyre. He's still doing okay. Meanwhile, Mick Schumacher can't get past the Williams of Sargent and Stroll, the Nissan of Stroll. Is this the level of where Mick Schumacher is at, driving quite comfortably in a back-marker car? Something to consider. Lap 8. Kevin Magnussen, if you did leave a comment, maybe this might change your mind. Kevin Magnussen leading the Grand Prix. Looks like he's going to lock up his front right tyre. That puts him off the circuit and allows Leclerc and Lando through. Lando Norris now in P2 in sector 3. Lando Norris on the 10th now behind Leclerc, and they are currently battling for the lead of the Grand Prix. Gasly's struggling to keep up with them now, but Lando Norris right on the back of Charles Leclerc. Meanwhile, Mick Schumacher, that mistake from Magnussen's put him up a place. He's now in P15. But like I said, he's got Sargent and Stroll, which he just cannot seem to get past at this moment in time. So your top 10, a rundown on lap 11. We're expecting rain in about 8 or 9 laps time. Leclerc from Norris, Gasly in P3, Ricciardo P4, Esteban Ocon in the Lotus Renault, must be said, doing very well in P5, Perez P6, Sainz P7, Albon P8, and the 2 Mercs in P9 and P10. Looks like we've had a spin on track now. Let's keep a look at who this is. It's Carlos Sainz in the Aston Martin. Not too good at all. Mick Schumacher is picking up a few places here, and he's not having to do much to do it. Let's have a little look at what Carlos Sainz has just done. And there he is, spinning out there, Carlos Sainz. Not good for the Aston Martin at all. But Lando Norris in now P1, overtaking Leclerc. Let's have a little look at this overtake from Lando Norris.
Okay, here's the Ferrari.
And he gets it done on the DRS straight. Beautiful work from him. Lando Norris on the soft compounder tyre into P1. We've got cars spinning left, right and centre here. George Russell this time fighting with the Audi and just losing control there. He's spun out as well. And once again, Mick Schumacher's there to pick up another place. This time Lando Norris is in P1 again. Pierre Gasly now in P2. And these two guys behind battling away. We are wondering whether we could possibly push it with Lando Norris and try and break away and break the DRS, but this is something we're keeping an eye on, especially before the rain period comes. Meanwhile, Mick Schumacher now in P13. He's getting there, he's getting up towards the points. He has got the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, so there's positives for Mick so far in Canada. Big moment in the title race, Max Verstappen spinning out. There's a lot of cars who are struggling to keep it on circuit at the moment. Max Verstappen's the next one, and once again, that lets Mick Schumacher through. Mick Schumacher now up to P11, and to be fair to him, he's not had to do too much to get there. Gasly and Norris are exchanging places at the front, as you can see once again. We're right on board with Lando Norris as he looks to make the move on at the Aston Martin. Can't quite get it done on this DRS straight. Will he be able to do it as we go through that chicane on to the start-finish straight? He's going to have that DRS open once again, but Gasly looks like he's parked it in quite a nice position. We are just having a little look at the weather predictions at this moment in time to bring you up to speed on what's happening at the pit wall. We are expecting light rain, so I reckon we could be looking at intermediates. I reckon that's what we're going to go for. I think intermediate seems to be the tyre. There might be a spell where it goes to full wets, but inters, I believe, will be the right call. As Lando Norris looks like he's making a move on Pierre Gasly. Leclerc's got his hand in as well. Is Lando Norris going to make this move? I believe he's going to get DRS here. He is. And Lando Norris goes back into the lead of the Grand Prix on lap 15. Here we go then, lap 18, and the rain is coming down as you can see, and Lando Norris has been told to box. We reckon by the time Lando comes out in a second, he's going to be ready to go onto the intermediate tyres. It's an early call, but I think one that's very worthwhile. Meanwhile, Mick Schumacher's also coming into the pits. And also, crucially, Lando Norris doesn't get held there either. Mick Schumacher is in as well. We've managed to do the double stack because obviously we've got that gap between Lando and Schumacher. Norris now is out onto the track. It's only 0.9, but by the time he gets around the first few corners, it will be time for the intermediates. Mick Schumacher coming out as well. There's a fair few cars in. It's absolute pandemonium in the pit lane at this moment in time. Lando Norris comes out P6, and now the track is going to be damp. Let's have a quick look at this. As Lando Norris is on the back of this Williams, and he needs to get past him very, very quickly here, Lando Norris. He needs to clear this car. Let's just have a look, see if he can do this. We'll ride on board with Lando Norris. Get past him, my friend. Get past him. Lando Norris, he's got to get past him, and somehow Sergio Perez has got past. This is not very good driving, this from Lando Norris. He's still stuck behind this Nissan and finally manages to get past. Not ideal at all there for Lando Norris. Mick Schumacher is probably going to be the next one that ends up here, so we're just going to tell him to drive into clean air a little bit as well and get past these two cars, which I'm sure he will very shortly. But crucially, let's have a look now where these guys are coming in. Lando Norris now is pushing on with Perez. Gasly is in the pits, as is Leclerc. Was it the right decision to come in on the lap that we did? Let's have a little look here.
In the pit lane now.
Lando Norris coming down the start finish straight. We're keeping an eye on Gasly. Gasly looks like he's been held. Leclerc's already on his way out. Lando Norris coming down the start finish straight. Is he going to come out in front of Charles Leclerc, who's coming onto the pits? He is indeed. Norris and Perez got the call absolutely right. Mick Schumacher coming down the start finish straight as well. He's got a couple of cars in front of him. Everybody's now on intermediate tyres, and Mick Schumacher will come out in P8. So that's not been a bad pit stop period for us at all. And I do believe Lando Norris has got the pace on the McLaren of Sergio Perez. Lap 20. And on lap 20, come rain or shine, Lando Norris is looking more and more like a world champion in waiting every race. Got the job done on Sergio Perez. Beautiful work from him. And now Lando Norris is British. He knows how to drive in the rain, and I'm sure he's going to just carry on now. We've enjoyed that in the Ferrari garage as we take the lead of this Grand Prix off of the McLaren of Checo Perez. Leclerc is a further 1.7 seconds back. No DRS now, of course, for Checo Perez, so that's going to be very interesting to see if this battle continues at the front. But Lando Norris looks like he's got it covered off at this moment in time. Meanwhile, Mick Schumacher, 1.7 seconds gap to Stroll. He's got Bottas behind him, so a little bit of work for Mick Schumacher to do, but I'm sure he will manage to do that. P8 at the moment. Leclerc is in P3. Constructors-wise, we're looking at Verstappen down in P15 at the moment. Max Verstappen out of the points at this moment in time. Lap 21. Safety car is out. Lap 25. We aren't going to be pitting under safety car, but what we are interested in is seeing who's crashed. We've had a lot of crashes so far this weekend. Let's have a little look at this. It's the Lotus Renault of Esteban Ocon, I believe that is, and the Maserati of the Haas. And once again, just the Haas's are a dangerous car to be around. Lando Norris is still currently leading in P1. What this does do is allow us a bit of time to harvest and conserve a little bit of fuel. That's going to work an absolute treat for both our guys. Conserve on the tyres as well. It will drag the pack back together, but at this moment in time, I'm not too concerned about that. Lap 26, not too bad at all for Lando Norris. And on lap 28, normal racing conditions resume. Green flag running, and Lando Norris gets a good restart, to be fair, as we can see. Checo Perez, it's a 2 and 3 for Ricciardo and Perez at this moment in time. The McLarens are having a good day here in Canada, but so far Lando Norris is having the better one. 93% intermediates. We reckon these intermediates will carry us. It might get a little bit worse to rain before it dries out, but we have got a soft tyre stint at the end, so something to bear in mind. If we have a look at the strategy view, we are expecting it to clear up around lap, 57, 58? And then we've got a decision to make whether we go on to the mediums or the softs. But we'll make that decision with Lando when it comes. Meanwhile, Mick Schumacher in P8. Can he make a few passes here? It would be ideal if he could, especially on Stroll. He should have the pace to get past Stroll. And then it just boosts us in the Constructors' title, especially with Verstappen languishing behind the Williams in P13. So your top 10 after the restart is Norris, Perez, Ricciardo, Leclerc, Gasly in P5, Albon P6, Stroll P7, Schumacher 8, 9th and 10th for the two Mercedes. They like it in 9th and 10th, don't they? Lap 34, Mick Schumacher overtaking Lance Stroll. We've been watching this little battle for a while. Mick Schumacher struggling to get past the Nissan, but with the use of a little bit of ERS, managed to get him on the start, finish straight into turn 1. And it's now P7 for Mick Schumacher, who's now just going to be charging that battery up a little bit. Meanwhile, Lando Norris is keeping Sergio Perez at bay. We aren't pulling away by any stretch of the imagination, but we are comfortably in P1 at this moment in time. The rain is just getting a little bit worse. I would expect it to get very much worse in the next sort of 4 or 5 minutes. I expect it to change to wet weather conditions, but I don't see the need to pit, especially when we're going to be going back to an intermediate period in a few laps time. So lap 34, still Lando Norris leading the Grand Prix. We've got a serious incident on circuit, and I think Mick Schumacher was caught up in this, but let's just have a little look. We can see Lando Norris at the front. It's the Red Bull of Leclerc smashes into Ricciardo, and I believe that also took out Sergio Perez, which it did. So we've now got a situation where Norris is P1, Mick Schumacher is now in P4. Wow. First and fourth for us, and they're the closest competitor in the title races is Max Verstappen, who is down in P10. Something to be aware of here. This could be a massive, massive points haul for us. We have considered going onto the wet tyres, but at this moment in time I don't think it's worth it, especially with it coming back to Inters pretty shortly, so we're not going to risk that strategy. But this could be a massive, massive weekend for us here at Ferrari. First and fourth, we'll come back when we're back to green flag running. Very interesting. Lap 37, we're about to get underway again. As you can see, Schumacher's now in P3. That is because Pierre Gasly has gone onto the wet tyres, as has Carlos Sainz. Aston Martin rolling the dice and thinking that this wet weather is going to stay in for a little while indeed. Now, it'll be interesting to see the progress that Sainz and Gasly managed to make on the pack in front. I do think that it's going to come down quite quickly onto the intermediates. I reckon we're looking at probably about another 10 laps maybe, but then it's going to drop and it's going to dry up very quickly. So I didn't see the need to pit onto the wet compounder tyre. Is that the right call? We will only know in a little while, but at the moment Norris Albon, Schumacher is in P3, Bottas is in P4, Stroll P5, Russell P6, Sargent P7, Verstappen P8, then comes Vettel and Gasly already making up a couple of places on the wet compounded tyre. This is a very, very interesting Grand Prix. Only 14 runners now and both McLarens out. Lap 38 and lap 40, the gamble didn't pay off. Carlos Sainz went back in for intermediate tyres. If I was still the Aston Martin team principal, I would have been very disappointed with that decision. I'm not saying I've got them all right, Aston Martin, but that is an absolute shocker for Carlos Sainz. Gasly's decided he's going to stick it out, but he's not on the faster compounded tyre now. We've decided to bolt with Lando Norris, as we like to do. We reckon we can pull the gap to Schumacher. That's mainly due to it. If we do have to double stack, I'll need a big enough gap for Lando and Schumacher to come in on the same lap once the track starts drying out. And Gasly now, oh dear, Aston Martin has now come back into the pits for intermediate tyres. It's not worked at all for Aston Martin. Lap 41. Lap 53, and there hasn't been too much to tell you about. The rain has stopped and Lando Norris is in for his pit stop now. We're going onto the soft compound tyre as quickly as we possibly can. We don't want to be held, so let's have a little look at this. Lando Norris is in. Is it a good pit stop from our guys? 2.5 seconds, not too bad at all. Now, where is Lando Norris going to come out in the grand scheme of things? That's very, very important. We'll just have a little flick to Mich Schumacher, who's coming in for his pit stop as well. It's 2.3 seconds for Mick. Lando Norris is out in clean air. A little bit of clean air, I believe. Or is he going to get out? He is. A little bit of clean air for Lando Norris to use these soft compound tyres. This is a big, big moment for him and a big, big moment for Schumacher as well. Schumacher's also going to be out in clean air. This may have worked beautifully. We're just going to keep an eye on Lando Norris as he goes around this lap, and when the other cars start pitting, we will come back. Lap 54. I mean, I'm not convinced that could have worked any better. Lando Norris has just absolutely played a blinder. All the cars in front of him has pit, but the interesting one is Mick Schumacher, who's deploying and pushing on the fuel as well. Where is Mick Schumacher going to come out in the grand scheme of things here? This is very, very interesting for Mick. Let's have a look as we can see him flying through here. I can't see anybody coming out of the pit lane. And Mick bloody Schumacher, who had a shocking afternoon on Saturday in Canada, has come out in P2. He's been deploying on the ERS and he's got a 1.4 second gap to Alexander Albon. We're going to continue pushing on that ERS as well. What a drive that has been from Mick Schumacher on the outlap. We've got that absolutely spot on. Absolutely loving life. Lando Norris is going to go into light tyre saving mode because we've no need to push him. Mick Schumacher's going to push for a little bit more, and this could be the first Ferrari 1-2 of the season. Lap 55. Get excited, people. Mick Schumacher, new fastest lap of the Grand Prix, a 1:14.7 from Mick Schumacher. What a performance that has been since that final pit stop. You've got to give it to the man. There's been questions raised about him so far by me as well, even in this episode. But my God, has we got this strategy right now. The only interesting thing is we need to keep this Mercedes at bay behind. And Valtteri Bottas is looking particularly quick. Verstappen's now up in P5, but this could be a massive weekend for us. Lap 56. I actually hope I don't bring you any more highlights, but I'm going to bring you one now because we've got a competitor spinning on track, and it looks like, I'm looking at the left-hand side, is it Lance Stroll? We've got yellows, it's not, it's Carlos Sainz, and I'm sorry, Aston Martin. I am sorry, Aston Martin, but you have had a bad, bad day at Canada here. Carlos Sainz spinning out there. Not looking good at Aston Martin at all. 2.2 seconds gap to Bottas, lap 56. And on lap 60, for all Mick Schumacher's good work, and believe me, there's been quite a bit of it, he has not managed to stay out of the DRS of Valtteri Bottas, who is absolutely cooking on gas at the minute. And Valtteri Bottas has managed to get past Mick Schumacher. And to be fair, Alexander Albon looks like he's going for the move as well. Mick Schumacher could possibly lose 2 places. He doesn't. He just loses the one. But Mick Schumacher, that's terribly disappointing. It may come down to the last lap here. but we need Mick Schumacher to get this second place because I want a 1-2 here, and Mick has got to let this happen. Lap 61. 5 laps to go, but this is going to go all the way down to the wire. These three are battling away for the podium places and battling away for P2 at this moment in time. We see Mick Schumacher overtaking Valtteri Bottas. He's currently sat in P3, but what crucially we have managed to do is charge up a little bit of our ERS, and we are going to go for it on the last couple of laps. That is the plan. Charge up the ERS, and then hopefully we can make it a Ferrari 1-2. Lando Norris has checked out. He's enjoying life in Canada, but at this moment in time it's all coming down to Mick Schumacher, and if he can secure this P2 for the team, it would go a long way in restoring the faith that I need in him, and that you guys, the fans and the viewers, need him, and the Tifosi as well, I'm sure, need a little bit of faith, because at this moment he's not been showing his best, Mick Schumacher, but I'm sure he can. I think we can get P2 here. I really do. Lap 67. So this is it then, people. Last lap of the Grand Prix, and Mick Schumacher has got to pass Alexander Albon in the Audi to get a 1-2 for Ferrari. Lando Norris, he's cruising round. It's job done for Lando Norris, but it's not job done for Mick Schumacher, who's made the overtake early. Is that going to be a mistake for Mick Schumacher? We are going to now tell him to use the ERS and defend down this long straight. Can Mick Schumacher hold on here? This is going to be absolutely terrible to watch. Or is it going to be brilliant? Mick Schumacher using the ERS all the way down this long straight. Can he defend against Alexander Albon and Valtteri Bottas in the Mercedes and the Audi to bring home the first Ferrari 1-2 of our season? Mick Schumacher.
What a race, huh?
Is he going to do it? He certainly looks like he is. Mick Schumacher, P2 for Ferrari. It's 1-2. Grazie ragazzi. 1-2 for Ferrari at Canada. Get in.
That was great.
Just drink this in, people. 1-2
Lando
for
Norris
Ferrari.
can be proud. What a fantastic performance from him. What a beautiful sight that is on the podium, and a true crowning achievement for everyone involved. And after such a fabulous drive here today, it's no surprise to see this man land on the podium.
Well, guys, well, what a sight that is. 2 Ferrari drivers, P1 and 2, and Mick Schumacher from the back of the grid comes in P2. What a fantastic performance that is. Valtteri Bottas got the fastest lap, and to be fair, Valtteri Bottas was insanely quick this weekend, it must be said. Driver standings wise, what does that do? Lando Norris, 25 points. Takes it now to, God, we've got to do some maths here. What's that? 64 points now. Lando Norris is in front of Charles Leclerc in the Red Bull. It was a bad weekend for Red Bull. It was a great weekend for Mick Schumacher, who's now got a podium to his name, and he goes up to P5 in the driver's standings, just behind Checo Perez in 4th. On Checo Perez and the McLarens, they had a really bad weekend, not scoring a single championship point in P3. It's very much a 2-horse race between Ferrari and Red Bull now, but Ferrari are 30 points in front. What a performance that has been, and what a weekend we've had in Canada. I hope you've enjoyed that one. I bloody loved that one. We'll see you on the next one. Please like and subscribe. Ta-ra.